This is the Cannabis Podcast on Radio Influence. It's an inside look and the scientific facts in and around the world of medical cannabis. Now, here is your host, Ian Beckles.
Hello, everybody. This is Ian Beckles, and welcome back to the Dignitary Cannabis Podcast. I appreciate you guys listening in. From what I hear, the numbers were pretty darn good last week. And this is a podcast and a webcast. So we're doing our podcast with Radio Influence, and we're doing our webcast with WeBeam TV. So it's maximum exposure for all y'all. I want to give special love out to Curaleaf, who is our title sponsor. There's 3 Curaleafs in the area. They got one on Gandhi right here by the Dignitary Cafe, very conveniently over there near Starbucks, if you guys want a landmark. They have one on North Florida, and they have one way down in Lutz on Northdale Mabry, for those of you who live way down there. I don't see myself there too often, but there's Curaleaf popping up all over the place. I tell many people that it's my favorite dispensary, even before they became the title sponsor. And I send everybody there, and everybody tells me the same thing. They're the most relaxed, easygoing dispensary, and that's what it's about. It's about going in, feeling comfortable, and not feeling too tight. Because some people roll up when they think marijuana, they think tight, and it doesn't have to be that anymore. All right. So this is the Dignitary Cannabis Podcast, and this is where I'm going to bring knowledge and education, from cannabis, because I'm trying to learn from this beautiful plant that's has a whole lot of medicinal uses, and I'm trying to figure out, just like you guys, ways to use it and better myself as I age and things become harder. That's what happens, unfortunately. And when you talk about cannabis itself, there's a language in marijuana and cannabis. Cannabis is actually the bud that you smoke. All right. So people just say cannabis and think that that's everything. Cannabis is the bud that you smoke. Marijuana is the whole plant. So marijuana is, the leaves and the stems and the whole 9 yards. And, cannabis is just the part that you smoke. So that's important. And I went over there to, Gen 12 Farms, where they're farming hemp. It's in San Antonio, Florida. My guy Corey over there was kind of teaching me the ropes and showing them how they grow hemp outside. And I learned a lot of things. One being male plants are bad. In some walks of life, females are on the outside when it comes to marijuana. Males are no good. I mean, he had a full crop of hemp, and he said they found one male plant. And if they didn't take it out immediately, it ruins the whole crop. And I'm not a weedologist, and I'm not a farmer. I don't know the exact reason, but supposedly that male plant would absolutely ruin the whole crop. So female plants are what we're smoking. And the trichomes are the fuzzy things on the plant. If you go to Trulieve and you pick up, some buds and you look at them close enough, you don't need a magnifying glass. You look close enough, you can kind of see the crystals on there. That's the trichomes. So there's a different language for everything, just like everything in the world. There's right ways to say things and the wrong ways to say things as well. And, I like to mix things up, with this webcast and talk to you about different aspects of marijuana. First and foremost, our government runs things. And, Joe Biden, for what I heard before the election, and I voted for Joe Biden, not that if that's relevant, but I heard that he was somebody who was open to marijuana. And that's part of the reason why I voted for him. There was other reasons as well that we won't get into today. And in March of this year, from what I hear, 5 members of his administration had their employments terminated because they admitted to marijuana use in the past. Now, I didn't think that's what Joe Biden was about, because if you use marijuana in the past, you should lose your job. I mean, I think Joe Biden would be shocked at the amount of people who are productive in this world smoking marijuana every damn day. All right? So it's getting to the point in 2021 where I just don't understand why people still have that mentality. And, we have numerous presidents admit they smoked. I mean, Bill Clinton, he smoked his face off, and Obama smoked. And we have our vice president who admits that she smokes. And, now you're firing people. And they don't know specifically that's the reason, but you got to be a little fishy if all 5 of the people terminated admitted that they smoked marijuana in the past. Now, I'm somebody who, listen, I played in the NFL for 9 years. I got drug tested a lot. And I didn't ever smoke weed till I was 35 years old, knowing that it could ruin my life and, obviously mess up my dreams. So I didn't smoke marijuana. That was it. When I was done playing, it's not like I was against it. I just didn't want it to mess up what I had going on. So I got tested a lot. So if you get tested for marijuana and you get popped for marijuana, don't complain. You knew you were going to be tested. So be smart, okay? That's an ignorant thing. I hate to hear an NFL player get popped on a drug test for marijuana because it's not physically depending. Get out of here, okay? Because I smoke every day. And I stopped smoking for a month and nothing happened. I just stopped smoking. That was it. For people that are dependent on something, when they stop, there's ramifications. And I didn't see it myself. I would think you could probably be more mentally dependent on marijuana than physically dependent on marijuana. Once again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not trying to preach to you guys. So what I'm saying is make some smart decisions. If you are going to get tested, you're going to get tested, don't smoke marijuana. It takes a month to get out of your system. There's a lot of different things you go to different head shops and the smoke shops, and there's things you could take, but be smart, okay? If you have a good job, you don't want to be messing it up smoking weed, although I enjoy smoking weed. Talking about the business part of it, the federal judge banned Covina, a company for selling pot-infused nerd knockoffs. We all know what those nerd candies are, those delicious sour candies. Alleging that the dispensary was violating copyright and piggybacking off the goodwill of the Nerd Rope brand. Now, I do know this. There are some regulations from our government. What they really frown upon is anything that's going to lure a kid into ingesting marijuana. I'm the same way. I mean, they've been doing this for years. They make cigarettes that look appealing to kids, and then the kids go smoke cigarettes. They've been doing that for years, and this cigarette company paid for it. Lots of money. So if you think you're going to be a marijuana company that is going to make something that looks like candies, that ain't going to work. So this company, Covina, they got shut down. They had to give all their profits to the Nerds company. They had to destroy all their goods, and they had to remove all their goods from the shelves. They lost their ass. All right. So before you create something with marijuana or cannabis in it, you better know what the hell you're doing, because they don't play. They really don't play with all those rules and regulations, and they shouldn't. They really shouldn't. When you talk about FDA and you're talking about medication, and that's what cannabis is, it's medication. You're supposed to have limitations and parameters, and that's their job. Now, I've talked to you guys about getting your medical card. I think it's important. I was sitting talking to a good friend of mine who also in the radio business, Brian Fink, this weekend, and he talked about having migraines, and he says, well, I really want to get my marijuana card. And I said, well, you can get it right outside my cafe. And a lot of people still don't know that. And, medical marijuana, there's a long list of things that it helps, okay? And I'm going to go over some of the things, and a lot of people don't know what it helps. So that's why I tell people to read, okay? I'm not a huge reader. I'm really not a huge reader. I don't sit down and freaking read books. I just don't do it. But I'll read up little things on marijuana and, the benefits and the articles here and there. That's, what the hell you're doing. That's the education part of it. But for those of you that want to get your medical card, I suggest that you get it, because I've had a couple, 3, half dozen friends of mine who've got it lately. who have been hugging me more than I would like. Okay, because if you're somebody who normally go gets it on the street, then all of a sudden you're exposed to a dispensary and you walk in there and they got every strain known to man. I mean, it changes your life. It really does. It's like Disneyland the first time you go in there. And literally, I've had people hug me lately, and it's COVID time. It should be social distancing. So for those of you looking to get your medical marijuana card, we're going to have the Cannabis outside of Dignitary Cafe right over here. We're at 4817 South West Shore, right on the corner of West Shore and Gandy. It's Dr. Cannabis. So go to drcannabis.com. That's Dr. CANNABUS.com. And it'll be right here at the Dignitary Cafe. It'll be May 17th, 18th, 19th, and 20th. And there's going to be a bus outside, and there's going to be a doctor in there, and he's going to be giving out medical marijuana cards. He's not giving them out. You go in there and you tell him what your ailment is, and then I think within a week you get an email, and then you're allowed to go to dispensaries, and then you're on your own. But I suggest this is the easiest way to do it. You don't have to go to a doctor's office. It's usually about 20 minutes in and out. Bing, bang, boom. It's a done deal. So once again, we're at 4817 Southwest Shore. And go to Dr. Cannabis. That's CANNBUS.com. And once again, you can use a Dignitary promo code, and you're going to get $25 off of your card. So it ends up being about $225. So do yourself a favor and take advantage of that. Now, I've had a lot of people who, they ask me if I qualified. I'm not going to say everybody qualifies, because that's not true. Not everybody qualifies for anything. But I'm going to say this. I haven't heard a lot of refusals, okay? I've talked to doctors and people in the business. There's not a lot of refusals. And if I have a bunch of the ailments that you could have to, in order for you to get your medical marijuana card, and the list is long, okay? So I'm not going to ramble off all of them, but here's a few of them that you may not have known, okay? ADHD, AIDS, ALS, and those are some of the more serious ones, obviously. Anxiety disorder. It's vague. It's very vague. A lot of people have anxiety disorder. Everybody has anxiety. That's the way it goes. Cancer, cerebral palsy, chronic pain is as vague as can be. I'm 53 years old. If you ask me if I have chronic pain, I would say I have chronic pain on every part of my body. My body's been through more than most, but chronic pain, I don't know anybody in their 50s doesn't have chronic pain. Not one single person. Crohn's disease, cyclical vomiting syndrome, I've never heard of that one. Degenerative disc disorder, diabetes, epilepsy, glaucoma, herniated disc, insomnia. Who sleeps well? Who sleeps well by themselves? I just don't know a lot of people who just plot themselves down and sleep well. Everybody has a lot of things happening in the world, man. It's a lot of things to think about. Fibromyalgia, glaucoma, lupus, irritable bowel syndrome, Lyme's disease, migraine. Like I said, my guy Brian Fink was talking about. THC is good for migraines and good for a lot of other things as well. MS, muscle spasms, muscular dystrophy, osteoarthritis, osteoporosis, Parkinson's disease, post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. For all the veterans out there who are suffering from PTSD, or people have had a tough situation in their lives. There's a lot of people suffering from PTSD as well. Premenstrual syndrome, PMS. I personally don't know much about it, but it's a very relevant thing in the world. There's a lot of women at a lot of different ages suffer from PMS, and it can be debilitating. And listen, there's an alternative to marijuana, okay? It's pills. So that's got to be up to you. And the pills are giving you for PMS, whatever the pills are, I promise you it isn't as natural as marijuana. Nothing. There's no pills unless it's a THC pill. But the pills are not natural. They're man-made. And everybody knows that, that doesn't do good things for your body in the long run, for sure. Relax sympathetic dystrophy, restless leg syndrome. I know a couple people have that. Scoliosis, sickle cell anemia, spasticity, and spinal stenosis. Now, that's a lot. okay, and some of them are very serious. But when you talk about, migraines and chronic pain and insomnia, well, that's 80% of our country. So, like I'm trying to say, there's just not a lot of people that get rejected for their medical marijuana card. It's really there's not a lot at all. And marijuana is not a cure, people. Let's make sure everybody knows that. When somebody gives you a pill, that's not a cure, okay? It's something that is going to alleviate the pain and maybe, numb the symptoms a little bit. That's that's all marijuana does. It makes life a little easier to deal with. Because like I said, everybody has their thing. Everybody has their thing. A lot of the things I read off there, I don't know anything about. I do know something about, insomnia. I do know something about chronic pain, you know. So everybody always says, well, what do you smoke weed for? The answer should be because I like to smoke weed. That should be the answer. But everybody has specific reasons. I heard Queen Elizabeth smoke weed for her menstrual cramps. Good for you. Why not? I'm not going to hate you for smoking weed for your menstrual cramps, but in the long run, you're just smoking weed because you like to smoke weed. And that's what most people are doing. It's euphoric. It makes you feel good. And, we don't have to, we don't have to drink either. You know, drinking ain't good for you either. So listen, if we cut out everything in our lives that aren't good for us at all, we would be very, very, very dull people. So marijuana is here in lieu of pharmaceuticals, okay? Period. So now, what's important, for you once you get introduced to the marijuana world is amounts. That's important because when you talk about smoking marijuana doesn't need to be measured nearly as much as ingesting marijuana. And ingesting marijuana these days can be a lot of different things through tinctures and there's oils and there's butters and there's so many ointments and there's a lot of different ways to ingest marijuana, okay? Obviously the gummies and all the different candies and all those things. But it's important that you figure out how much, how often, okay? So you may say, all right, when I get 20 milligrams, I'm good. All right. I would say this, I would suggest this. You gotta kind of make it a case study to where you feel out yourself as you go along. Like, so if you first start, get your card and you're trying to figure out what I need to take. I would say first and foremost, start very low, okay? If you start very high, you might scare yourself. I had a good friend of mine that said, listen, Ian, I don't know anything about marijuana. I've never smoked. I'm a runner. And I hear that, edibles are good for pain. And I said, that makes sense. And I said, I am not a runner. But if I did run, I would certainly have a lot of edibles in me. So I brought him into the world. He started taking edibles. I just told him, I said, just go light with it and then see how it turns out. You always want to go lower than you should, okay? And then you kind of feel it out. And if for whatever reason you're doing it, figure out what works for you. I mean, there's some people that take, I was talking to somebody yesterday that takes 80 milligrams of edibles at one seating. I was like, yeez, that's a lot. But then what I take might be a lot from other people as well. And it's a tolerance thing. When I first started smoking weed, I remember my buddy would bring me, one nugget and it would last me a whole week. It ain't that way anymore, okay? It's not that way anymore. You never really end up where you started. It doesn't work that way. So when you talk about, especially with edibles, you want to make sure you figure out how much, how often. And measurements are important. And this is something that you have to figure out now. When you talk about measurements and marijuana, you have to scale everything because some measure in grams, some measure in milligrams, some measure in milliliters, some measure in drops. You just got to figure out how much marijuana is in the dosage, and then you'll figure yourself out. That's the bottom line. All right. How much? And once again, smoking is completely different. When you can't smoke yourself stupid. Okay. Although I've seen people try. I tried yesterday. But you can eat edible yourself stupid really, really fast, like faster than you can know. And I always say, famous last words is, I don't feel anything, I'm going to take another one. Don't do that. That is, I've seen it more than once, and the stories end up poorly. Real bad, okay? So, I mean, literally, if somebody takes an edible and you, an hour and a half later, like, I don't feel anything, give me another one. Don't, I'm telling you, that's going to turn out poorly, especially for somebody who doesn't normally take edibles. So, your dosage has to be conducive to what you're trying to get accomplished. For instance, when I get up in the morning, I might take a couple hits. It just, just chills me out a little bit. What am I looking for? Just to be chill. That's it. I'm not looking for much more than that. That's it. Some days I might go through the rest of the day and not have anything. But at nighttime, man, now I'm trying to get to sleep. Try to forget about all the crazy stuff happening during the day. And now, your objective is, well, it's a little bit different. Now, the people that are walking around with, these different, ailments, they may figure out ways to microdose as they go through the day and make sure that they know, how much to take as they go. That's important. So once again, the important thing is to know how much you're taking, how often you're taking, when. That's it. And like I said, everything has its dosages, and that's maybe one of the more important things. So you may want pain relief, you may want sleep, you may want to get high. Okay? That's we can get all those done. All right? And everybody has a different tolerance. So when you're talking to somebody about it, don't just say how much do you take? Because if I tell you how much I take, you just can't say, well, Ian takes this much, so I'm going to take that. That's a bad idea. Because you don't eat as much as me, okay? Because, you just don't, all right? So that's my world. My world has always been, if it says take 2, I used to take 4. I also used to run my head into people for a living, so that's not a normal thing to do. So there's nothing that I do normally that is normal, unfortunately. So, that's the world we live in. And there's so many different ways for you to get it in your system. Obviously, smoking with flower. Vapes are very, obviously very popular these days. We talked about edibles. There's topicals, suppositories. I ain't going there. I like to get high, but there's other ways to get high. That's a little bit too invasive for me. And then there's sublingual as well. So there's a lot of different ways to get it into your system. And remember this, people. Marijuana is medicine, all right? And treat it that way. It's medicine. It's helping kids with ailments. There's so many stories of kids that had so many different ways to try to alleviate the pain, and they always came back to marijuana. And some parents have to go out of their way and almost do illegal stuff to get it to their kids, and I think that's absolutely crazy. Now, I always want to give you guys a strain of the week, Curaleaf strain of the week, and this week it is Strawberry Diesel. I just literally came back from Curaleaf and picked up some of this Strawberry Diesel. Let me tell you something. Right after I'm finished this show, I'm going to go smoke it. And I haven't been this excited in a while. The lady, as I walked in, she looked at me. She goes, I got something for you. Because, like I said, I like the little higher percentages. Strawberry Diesel, 20% THC. I don't think I've ever seen 20%. Not at Curaleaf. That's about as high as it goes. It might go a little bit higher than that, but it smells amazing. It's a cross between New York City Diesel and Strawberry Cough. It's a hybrid. Supposedly, it relaxes your muscles and gives you an energizing, clean-headed sensation. Those are all good words in my world. Good for insomnia. That as well as my world. And they do say this. It doesn't pertain to me. It says, novices, be cautious. So if you're a first-timer or you're somebody who's just new to the game, maybe you might not want to jump into Strawberry Diesel. All right. And like I said before, the title sponsor, Curaleaf, every time you go to Curaleaf, you may think you're going to buy a little something, and you always end up leaving with a whole bunch of stuff because they always have crazy deals. I ran in and I said, what's the deal? I ended up getting an ounce of the Strawberry Diesel, 20%, for $180. So I don't know where the hell you get your stuff from, but it ain't this good. and I guarantee you paid more than $180. Because like I've been buying it off the street, for 20 years or so, maybe a little less than that, and I never ever got an ounce for $180. And I had no idea what's in that. I know exactly what's in this. I know exactly where it came from. I know the hybrid. This is science, people. When a guy in the street brings you a sack of something, that ain't science. That's Russian roulette. You really have no idea with these days with people lacing things. And if I was you, I wouldn't take that chance. So that's why I tell everybody, get out there, go to drcannabis.com to get your medical marijuana card and do things the right way. Literally, I wish I could videotape and record some of my buddies talking to me about how happy they are with having a marijuana card. They just, right now, they're kicking themselves. They go, what the hell have I been doing? And a lot of them are going to the dispensary 4, 5, and 6 times a week because they're like, they're a kid in a candy store right now. It's brand new. They don't know what to do with themselves. I've been part of the system for a while, so I'm a little bit more chill, although I'm there 2, 3 times a week myself. They know my truck, and they know when I'm coming, what I like. And like I said, there's a Cure Leaf right down the road. There's also one on North Florida, and there's a Cure Leaf in Lutz as well. But I'm going to say this. I appreciate you guys listening in. Like I said, it's all about education. It's all about knowledge. Make sure you're listening to my other podcasts as well on Radio Influence. I have a football podcast. I have one where I'm talking a lot of government stuff. And also Beckles and Retcher, 95.3 WDAE FM and 6:20 AM, Monday through Friday. We're usually 3 to 6 or 3 to 7. That's sports talk radio, but we have a tendency of talking just about everything. And if you're going to go out there, you're going to get your medical marijuana card, which you need to do, go to drcannabis.com and make your appointment for Dignitary Cafe, which would be May 17th, 18th, 19th, and 20th. And get yourself right, people. That's what it's all about. It's all about doing it legally. But I want to thank you guys again for tuning in. Numbers are great, and I'm still going to keep on trying to spit knowledge to you guys as we go forward. Get out there and smoke something delicious. I know I am. Have a great week. Peace out.
For more information on medical cannabis, make sure to follow Ian Beckles on Twitter @Ian Beckles. This has been the Cannabis Podcast on Radio Influence.